This is the foot of Chapin Avenue now. There's a little path here. This kind of dead ends at this gully here, a stream. Looks like a good bird watching spot. Maybe the path, walking back around, maybe the path, another path down this way from the end of Chapin down to the Salvation Army property on Newman Springs Road here. To west side. Seems like there should be a path through the woods over to west side from here, but there's not. That's kind of weird. Good thing about this time of year is you can really go down paths that will be impassable in about another couple of weeks. Oh, this is a cool spot. What's burrowing here? Holy moly. Look at the footprints. Probably a groundhog. Look at the red color of this though. Look at that. Look at that color. That's why they call it red bank, people. Look at that. Got two streams that meet right here. What the hell is that? A lot of tires. Pretty cool old milk bottle. Clover Farm. Sweet Clover Farm. A lot of dead ends. Emerging from the woods to a fence in somebody's yard. All right, I think I've crossed over into borough-owned property that is part of the old dump. Wow, this is just big gravel lot. Now I'm behind. This is the site they have slated for a future Sunset Park. Wow. I moved to Red Bank. I remember a headline on the local paper. Back then it was the Hub. It said, "Park planned for West Side Tract." That's this spot. That was 23 years ago. So that's how long they have been talking about environmental remediation here, cleaning the spot up, and possibly turning it into some sort of, at least a passive recreation area. So 3 decades and counting. I've seen super fun sites cleaned up, capped, and turned into parks in half that time in other places in New Jersey. Somebody set up a trail cam here. What's up? Pretty cool. Now I'm on a bluff behind the West Sunset dump site where the environmental remediation has been going on for decades. And this is the bluff overlooking the river. You can see why this spot has such potential for a park. I mean, this is a gorgeous spot. I mean, The river curves here. You have views. The sunsets here are spectacular. It's a peaceful spot. You have this natural lookout. I love this spot. But this begins also maybe the most beautiful and disgusting and disheartening stretch of the entire Red Bank riverfront, because it is a beautiful path, wooded pathway along the river. The bird watching is incredible, and it is filthy with litter and dumped materials, and it's just really distressing. And there's also this, I've always wondered, how did that desk get up in that tree? Like it's perfectly level too, like you could sit up there and do your homework. So pause for a minute and just take this in. I'm just gonna film a slow pan. Somebody keeps their stuff here. Maybe sleeping there. The old fishing hole. Another one of the best river access points in all of town. I wonder if back in the day the dump didn't come all the way down to here, because there's spots here like this where it looks like the ground and the bluff is actually like made out of trash. It just looks like ancient landfill, like this is the side of a landfill just oozing out into the river. This stretch between Dr. James Parker and the dump is Green Acres. This site is dedicated to permanent recreation and open space. It is also, according to this sign, private property. It doesn't really make any sense. No trespassing. Again, I walked through that, but the environmental investigation cleanup at this site has been going on. We are now on 12 years since that sign was put up. Watching along this stretch is bonkers in the spring. There's an eastern towhee over there I saw. It's been kicking around all morning. Now, at what is probably an example of one of the most successful efforts by the borough to get a private developer to create a section of waterfront walkway. This is the stretch between Dr. James Parker and Bank, and then the walkway goes almost to River Street. What happened here is when these townhouses were built in response to what had happened over at Chapin that I showed you with those easements being taken over and then no trespassing signs put up, the planning board here in Red Bank made the developer put the easement in writing, in law, build the walkway, and clearly mark it as public access. And this has become, even though it's a very short stretch of walkway, it has become a huge asset for people around here. People are walking their dogs all the time. This gets a lot of use. People come down here and just take short walks. And as it goes up on this ridge here, this is the best bald eagle watching spot in town. And the residents here know this is public access. And here we go. That spot. Tiny link. This property at the foot of River Street down here is the only link of private property from Sunset to Locust. This whole thing is public property along the river, walkways and trails, as primitive as they are, as trashy as they are. That's the one missing link in the spot. So I skipped the primary school because it's school hours and I don't want to freak anybody out filming on the school grounds. This is the access path from the primary school to Locust Avenue. This used to be kind of swampy, muddy trail, and now it's a paved road. Great spot to walk. One problem with this spot is that the snapping turtles come from the swimming river this time of year, and they tend to want to lay their eggs back in the near the pond and in the woods here. And then when the eggs hatch, the babies are trying to get back to the river, and they sometimes can't make it over the curb. So if you're walking back here in the spring, look for these little baby, this big snapping turtles, and give them a boost. Your area set aside in the early 2000s. Used to be a house on this site. It was knocked down. The Environmental Commission did a lot of work. An Eagle Scout built this osprey nest platform, which osprey do not use. I just think it's too low. They like them higher now. I think they've gotten spoiled, but there's never an osprey nest on there. They should put a bigger one in. Great path here, great spot. And then when they built this playground a couple years ago, they put this great platform, this viewing platform up here. Total great view. Great view of the river. Got a couple slides here. There we go. Great spot. Spot where things get pretty weird. There's a fence here, and then the path continues. I have some paperwork from the Environmental Commission in the early 2000s that indicate that this was set aside when they built the Bellhaven townhomes. This was set aside as a conservation easement. I have not been able to verify that and look in the records, but I do have records and letters, correspondence back and forth from back in the day that said that this is a conservation easement. I think that's different from a waterfront access easement, but nonetheless, this is where things get weird. There's no trespassing sign here, so I'm going through, and you can see this path, gravel path, right along the waterfront, along the river, waterfront path. And then a nice bridge for pedestrians. Uh-oh, what the heck? Look at this. So a bridge that's chained off in front of the condos. I don't know, I mean, what's going on here? And then another chain. Oh my God, there's carpenter bees galore here. And then check it out. The path, somebody's maintaining the path while keeping it closed and chained off. muddy here, but still a nice path. Get a spot where you can see the water here. And then we hit this. This is private property. All right, so I'm not going past there. At this point in our little journey, the makeup and the complexion of the riverfront kind of changes. There's a lot of private property here. It's gonna be a whole different ball game. So good place to wrap this video up, and we'll pick up the next section of Red Bank Riverfront, walking the entire stretch of the riverfront in our next video. Catch that one, redbankgreen.com. See you there.